Hello, it's Dr. Tucker here, and gotta ask yourself if you feel like you're getting achy because you think you're getting older. Is that normal? So, a lot of times as we tend to get older, you start to see people report more injuries, more aches and pains, and it kind of becomes an accepted answer. I feel older, I'm getting achier, that's okay, that's normal. Or somebody goes to their doctor, and let's say he refers them out to an orthopedist. They get an x-ray of their hip because their left hip hurts. And their doc says, oh yeah, we took an x-ray of your left and right hip. Your left hip is arthritic. You're starting to get older, so you've got some arthritis, that's kind of normal. Well, the question is, if that patient, let's say, is 52 years old, and he's told he's old now, and he's got hip arthritis, why does he not have the same amount of arthritis in his right hip? His right hip is obviously the same age. His right hip looked normal on x-ray, but not his left hip. So the question is it really a matter of age, or are there other mechanical factors that are the real reason that you're feeling stiff and achy and not healing and not going to heal, and you're only going to see a progression of arthritis every year? So how does this come into play with chiropractic? Obviously, we look for mechanical dysfunction. We look for imbalances. And for me, I just drew a fancy stick figure here, which I think can illustrate this point the easiest. So if we look at a 200-pound male standing on two scales, and let's say, obviously, that both scales should read an even number. So it should read 100 and 100 if the patient's looking straight ahead, right? There should be an even amount of weight on the right and left foot if the weight distribution is normal. So what can go wrong? Let's say, this 52-year-old patient in his 30s hurt his back shoveling snow. Maybe he planted, pivoted, and he felt something go in his low back. He thinks he pulled a muscle. He injured something. It could have been a bulging disc. He could have shifted something out of position. There could have been some nerve involvement, a ligament strain, whatever the case is. There could be a few variables. But let's say the left side of his low back is injured. And because of that, it either created curvature, a lean, or some sort of shift to the other side. So if this patient is shifting to his right versus his left, there's going to be an asymmetry in load. What does that mean? It means from whatever age that he had this injury, let's assume it was 30 years old, that's 22 years of being weight-bearing, walking, running, whatever it is, in a lopsided fashion. Meaning he's not 100 and 100. He could have been loading weight 140 on his right side, obviously leaving only 60 on the left side. So what happens is, if you have more mechanical pressure irritating one side of this kinetic chain, this patient might start to develop right hip arthritis, right knee degeneration, ankle issues on the right. So when he gets x-rayed 22 years later of walking around lopsided, he might start to notice that his hip, knee, or ankle issue is not a matter of age alone. Because again, the x-ray revealed one side was normal at 52. It's just nobody detected there was an irritation he had in his low back that was causing him to compensate for however many years, creating more erosion on his right side. So that imbalance, 40 pounds more over 22 years, will start to create a breakdown in the joints. And in all candor, what do a lot of people do when they have that initial shoveling injury 22 years earlier? Well, they took some ibuprofen, they masked it, they ignored it, they kind of sucked it up, and then it finally got a little bit better symptomatically, but they never fixed the root cause. And years later, you're going to see compensatory issues that tend to break down something mechanically, and then it's like, oh, well, I'm old, and then they start to accept it. So a big consideration is this: whenever there's an injury, or even preventatively, the way you would screen your teeth, chiropractic can play a big role in checking for mechanical dysfunction, especially early on, before it becomes extremely symptomatic, before it becomes extremely degenerative on x-ray. The earlier you screen little issues, hopefully from youth, not in your 50s, 60s, and 70s for your first checkup ever, the bigger chance of preventing some of these erosion processes. So this is why preventative or wellness-based chiropractic can benefit a lot of people, because it can have a big impact in the long run. Any questions, leave us a comment, and hope you have a good day.